The most common trope for manhwas, and even some mangas nowadays, is some type of cool, edgy, overpowered guy with a bland personality, the cookie cutter type stuff, the same old same old. Not to point any fingers, but for the most part, this isn't relatable to the average person. Reading all these trash manhwas led me to believe that they're all just repetitive garbage with the same isekai-like trope. But on one fateful day, I was scrolling, looking for something good to read, for something digestible. I found a manhwa that looked just like any other isekai, the same cookie cutter ones I was talking about. But for some reason I decided to check it out. I thought, there's no harm in turning off my brain for this one, and just reading one more trash isekai. But boy was I wrong. This story follows a guy named Suo Kim, a poor civil engineer student. But one day he is granted a random wish, granted by a system to be transported in a book he last read. He is unfortunately trapped in the body of a noble, Lloyd, a lazy noble who loves to drink and with family is in a mountain of debt. Crazily enough, Lloyd isn't even a main character or not even a main antagonist. The book he transported into is called Knight of Blood and Iron. This book follows Javier, a super talented swordsman's journey on becoming a master swordsman. Javier starts as an unknown knight, to the depth-stricken Lord Akros. Javier was tasked with watching his son, Lloyd. Before everyone starts questioning me, what makes this so great, or how is it any different than any of the mangas I listed before, our answer for both of these questions would be our main character, Suo Kim, or Lloyd. Let's stick with Lloyd for now. Firstly, Lloyd was a terrible guy, and was hated by the community. And to make matters even worse for him, he was despised by the real main character, Javier. Off the bat, this manga did something different. It focused on the reincarnated person being affected by the past body's actions. Most isekais tend to not talk about the person's life they reincarnated into. This leads to Suo Kim having to redeem himself as Lloyd to pretty much everyone. In the book, the Frontera family met a terrible end. They end up losing everything and committing suicide. Meanwhile, the Lloyd from the story becomes a bum and lives as a beggar. So, in short, he's in a loser's body, nobody trusts him, and worst of all, Javier hates him. The first part of the story, he is just working for people to trust him. Most people by now would say, that's easy, just win everyone's favor, seems easy enough. Nope. Unlike other isekai MCs, he isn't just OP. Suo Kim's one true ability is his mind. Unlike other isekai MCs, he doesn't have complete knowledge of the story. If anything, he barely has any. So, what makes this poor civil engineer student, Suo Kim, great? It's his knowledge of civil engineering. He knows all about building due to his past life experiences, and is way ahead of anybody in this new world when it comes to architecture and modern technology. He's also a very hardworking, never giving up type guy, so it's pretty easy to root for him. After building, an amazing invention of one after the other, while mixing in the occasional manipulation, this simple engineering student was able to change his new world, not with cheat skills, but with his mind and good old hard work. This is what makes the story so great. It paints Lloyd in a very relatable light. We might not all have the intellect he does, but we all have the capacity to work hard and change our lives. A bigger thing that makes Lloyd so relatable is that he isn't some perfect noble guy who does everything for others. Instead, he is quite the opposite. He is pretty greedy and cunning at times. It is quite apparent he does lots of this stuff for the money and to live a comfy life, but this all adds nuance into his character. He was once a poor civil engineering student who had to overwork himself every day just to live, but this time he feels he is able to do something and to be better, so it makes sense why he's a little greedy in this new life. Lloyd through the series has to work hard for everything, like grueling training, laborious construction work. He is always working in this so-called new life. He even had to work for his relationships, because the old Lloyd ruined all of them. What truly sets this manga apart is how it deals with the relationships Lloyd has to manage and amend, and how they move forward and develop. For example, his relationship with Javier. Javier hates him with a passion. In his eyes, Lloyd is just a no-good guy who always drinks and never helps with anything. Pretty much the opposite of Javier, who is a good, honorable, quiet knight that always helps out others. To make things worse, Lloyd and Javier have a rough past. Because when Javier was adopted by Lloyd's father, Javier only wanted to be a knight that protected the man who took him in, while the old Lloyd used to berate him and breaks his sword and tells young Javier he can never be a knight, which left some scars on their relationship. Fortunately, as time went on, seeing that this Lloyd has now changed and is helping out and making a positive difference, Javier has no choice but to start respecting him. And slowly but surely, he starts seeing him as a best friend, and then as a partner, and then even as someone he would risk his life for and protect. He goes along with all of his crazy plans, and even trusted him enough not to care when he finds out that this isn't the original Lloyd. Just a quick little side note, Javier and Lloyd's friendship is one of the best written duos I've ever read in fiction history. They're just really funny together. I believe this manhwa is just funny in general. It's just a perfect blend of comedy in every chapter. Let's talk art. The art in this manhwa is also surprisingly great as well. The character designs look cool and fit the environment. The landscapes and cities look very nice. The art in this manhwa really gets you immersed in the world. Speaking of immersion in the world, I believe in the manhwa game, this is at the top of world building by far. All regions inside and outside of the empire are very fleshed out. Personally, I feel like if this would be adapted as the anime, it would be a hit immediately. One last thing that makes this manhwa incredible is the character development of Lloyd. He is presented as a greedy capitalist, but he's so much more than that. Lloyd tends to act like he doesn't care about people, but always go the extra mile for everybody. He never disregards the safety of any of his workers, despite it being cheaper and easier. A good example of the duality of his character is when Lloyd comes back and saves Javier. He claimed this was for money, but clearly this isn't true. Because before he came back to help, he said it breaks his heart when the city gets destroyed and people get hurt. Whenever a tough decision comes, it's clear Lloyd isn't just some greedy, money-hungry guy, but in fact a complex character with emotions and feelings. This point is further proven when he pays off all the Frontera debt, and Lloyd says he feels kinda flat. It is shown that he's having flashbacks of his old life as Kim Suho. In this flashback we see his mom and dad. Lloyd then is seen crying because he finally fulfills a promise to his parents to pay off his debt. He also cries because he wasn't able to help them in his old life. This clearly demonstrates he is happy with the new life, but wish he could have did more in his old life. This great duality of being a great guy and a greedy capitalist is done really well. It shows how he's able to accomplish everything he dreamed of in his last life, but now he's able to keep everyone happy and safe in his new life. In conclusion, as you read the story, you see how captivating the world building is and how funny and wholesome it can be, as well as being extremely deep and sometimes even sad. I feel that we can all relate to this story at times. I suggest anyone to give it a try. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. See ya.